action. Welcome back to Show and Tell. I'm Billy. How you doing this week? I'm doing a little bit better. I still have traces of my surgery last week, but things are coming along. In between then and now, you should have seen the shiner that I had. Well, I don't want to belabor it because generally I'm in good health and I have that good fortune, but I do want to talk about my knitting since I've had opportunities to do quite a bit. Of course, before I get to that, there are a couple of things in the news this week that are sheep knitting related that I just wanted to blow out there. The first one is on State Highway 55 in Idaho, there was a massive herding of sheep. And people gathered to watch this unfold. I can't put the footage here because of copyright restrictions, but I will give a link in the show notes below so that you can go ahead and take a look at that. The other thing I wanted to show you is a course that's being given by the Museum of Mathematics. If you're new to this podcast, you may not be aware that I live in the great city of New York, the Isle of Manhattan. Not too far from where I live is a small park called Madison Square Park. And on the northern edge of that park, where Chelsea Clinton lives, I don't know if she continues to live there, but she did live there. And also that park is noteworthy because it was the very first location of Shake Shack. Perhaps you have one of those hamburger joints in your own neck of the woods. They are in quite a few countries around the world. Nevertheless, it is the location for the National Museum of Mathematics. Again, if you haven't gotten to know me in prior episodes, you're probably not aware that I studied engineering, and the first 8 years of my career were spent as an engineer. So I have more than a healthy interest in mathematics. It came to my attention that this museum is offering a 3-part course. Unfortunately, it's in person. So if you're not one of the 10 million people who lives in this metropolitan area, or if you're not planning to visit New York, you won't be able to participate in that. But I'll leave a link so you can read more about it. They will be crocheting these topological geometric shapes. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. Behind me, in addition to seeing these beautiful cut glass objects that were purchased by my great-grandparents when they moved to Philadelphia, the early part of the 20th century, I am showcasing for you some of the yarns that have not yet been claimed for the upcoming One Skein Wonder knit-along that I'm hosting. The first 10 people to register will have their pick of the remaining color choices, so have a look. Also, I'll give a link to a prior episode where I went through all of the colors that are available. Some have already been claimed, so don't delay in registering. I'll give a link in the show notes of where you can go and do that. And we'll be meeting several weeks in a row over Zoom. You'll have a chance to meet other knitters from around the world. And you can use one of these skeins, or if you choose to use a skein from your stash, that's fine too. The only requirement is that it be a project that can be knit with one skein. These are DK weight, but you can use any weight yarn that you like. It would be fun to meet you, so I hope that you're able to participate. I'm hoping that you're able to see the cable knitting that's on top of a previous sweater that I knit. The one underneath is the sweater that I showed in a prior episode. Again, I'll give a link so you can go back and take a look at that. I knit it for my son, although in that episode, my husband was modeling it because my son currently is living on the opposite coast. I'm on the East Coast and he's out in San Francisco. But I thought it would be a good idea to show you that since I don't have him here, I was really just trying to match up the width and the length of my current project to one that I believe will fit him well. Here you can see I've matched up one of the sleeves. Here are the 2 sleeves that I'm knitting in tandem. These cables have quite a bit of stretch to them, so I'm going to certainly be blocking this out. The pattern will be better looking once it's blocked, but I really just wanted to get an idea, make sure that the shape and length of the sleeves would match up with the previous sweater. So last time I showed you these, I think I was about up to here. Now I'm already decreasing. I've started tapering in from the underarm, and I'm approaching now what will be the neck. So this is really motoring along. The back is complete, and I've done this much on the front. I had shown you this bit last week after my doctor's visit. I haven't worked on this at all. I wanted to get going on the sleeves. This will be the last part that I'll do, the front, the ever important front that most people will see. So I wanted to really get my feet wet with the other parts, make sure I perfected how I was doing the cable and the ribbing. I have, for my last several projects, taken to doing twisted rib. I think it makes the ribbing look so straight. I'm not a sloppy knitter, but some yarns just don't give you a very even in stockinette. So here's my stockinette stitches. You can see that they're not completely uniform from row to row, but compare those to this, and I think you'll see these are really tight and more uniform. So there's something about putting that little twist in, tightens everything up and keeps them in line, that I really find to be crisp, and I prefer this. I forgot to mention the sweater that I'm wearing. I knit this quite a while ago, early on in the pandemic. And I'll give a link to my Ravelry page so you can go look at it. I don't usually hold two yarns double, but in this particular project I did. I believe it was a cotton yarn held with mohair. Let me get up close, maybe you can see. They're really two slightly different colors, and it's a little bit neonish. It's a little bit brighter than I would prefer, but I think from a distance it works pretty well. I hope my sound is improving. I did buy one of these lavalier microphones. I hear always little scratching when I play it back. I think a lot of other podcasters have iPhones and they just record on those, and the sound and the camera are really good. And I'm not an Apple user. I'm not a Mac user. So, and also my Droid, you know, I travel a lot. My cell phone is always jammed up with photographs of the places that I've been. Speaking of photos, I'm going to end this very brief episode with a series of photos from the week that my friend Claudine was visiting from Paris. It was an action-packed week. Most weeks are for me. I don't think I have shared this with you before, but 5 days a week for 3 hours each day, I've been taking an opera appreciation class with a genius of a man named Simone, who's from Colombia in South America. His command of the English language far exceeds mine, and I'm a native English speaker. And then when it comes to his knowledge of philosophy, history, mythology, classical music, conducting, anatomy, voice, singing, he's just master of everything. I've never met anyone quite like him. He's always encouraging us, especially when there's some good deals on tickets, to grab seats for the Metropolitan Opera. I shy away from going because seats can cost in the hundreds of dollars, but he has told us a special part of the theater where the acoustics are particularly good. And we've all kind of sworn not to divulge that because we want to make sure that we have access to those seats when we want to go. But they're fairly inexpensive seats. So while my friend was visiting from Paris, I said to her, hey, like last minute, there are seats for tonight's performance of De Rose and Cavalier. Would you like to go? And she said, yes, at that price, you know, who could say no? So we went, and it wasn't a total surprise. I knew that my teacher, Simone, was also going to be there. So that was kind of fun. And there's some pictures of us in the lobby of the Metropolitan Opera House.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto d'amor.
That same week, we had an opportunity to go to the ballet at the Joyce Theater, and I'll pop in a little picture here. We saw a really avant-garde, modern performance, really fabulous choreography. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So to do ballet and opera in the same week, not to mention, each time my friend comes from France, she insists that I rent a car and that we drive around some remote area that a tourist wouldn't normally get to, and that's not easily accessible unless you really know your way around. So one year we went up the Hudson River and we visited the FDR Presidential Library and his boyhood home, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And there's a Vanderbilt mansion up there. There's also the Culinary Institute of America, known as the CIA, where we had lunch one year. This year, we drove out to Long Island to a beautiful mansion called Westbury Gardens. It was a private home of a man named Phipps. So a man with vast wealth purchased this large piece of ground. He has gardens that, for a private home, are really extensive and majestic. By the time we went through his mansion, we were a little too tired to really tour the grounds, but I do have some pictures of some of the artwork and some of the rooms in the mansion, including this blue marble, very unusual tabletop. Just nearby the mansion is the Nassau County Museum of Art. And although it's a small museum, it's in a very affluent neighborhood, and I imagine that there's some very wealthy donors. So I've only been to this museum one other time. They get very unusual exhibits. They're sort of niche, and I took some photographs of some of the artwork that's on display there now. So just to give you a little more insight into what a week in the life of your host here can look like. I hate to give you too many of these reminders, but please, if you're liking this episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope that you will. And if you have subscribed, just double check that you have the notification bell turned to on, because when you subscribe, you're not going to get notifications unless you opt into them, which means when I come out with a new episode, you'll have no way of knowing. So please do that, because I want you to stay in the loop with me. I will try to be back here next week. Possibly I'll have more knitting done. Thanks to those of you who reached out to send your best wishes. You don't know how much that means to me. I love to read your comments, and these particular ones really touched my heart. Thank you. It's not likely, but I suppose there's a chance that I would have my son's blue cable knit sweater almost complete, but in any event, I would certainly have more to show you. So drop back in next week. Look forward to seeing you again, and hope that you're all feeling well and enjoying spring. Ciao for now.